right there. Couldn't get the screen up. We did want to talk a little bit about, give you some updates about construction. And one of the videos we just wanted to show you, which is very quick, is the time-lapse video of North Salem High School when the weight room went down. Has anyone seen that? Yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Okay, I'm just going to see, you're going to see a crane come in here, and it's going to be gone. There it is. And just like that. You want to show it to you one more time? You got to see it twice. The whole weight room came off of the back of the building. We've relocated the modulars onto the softball fields. There it is. And it's gone. We've had some, at our last meeting, the people were sharing that they had kids that were North Salem High School alumni who have shared this video and watched it over and over again. So it is on our social media if you have, if you know people that are North Salem alumni. So North Salem, under construction, moved all the modulars out and moved them new modulars onto the softball fields. Those are real temporary modular classrooms, not modular, I know you're laughing, modular classrooms that stay forever. Those are real temporary ones. So they'll remain there. They'll remain there all through next year as we begin the North Salem major construction project. So lots going on in this building. If you're a member of classified communication next year, we're going to go to Claggett Creek just to keep as many things out of this building as we can, since they'll have a lot going on. So they're under construction. Gubser is under construction. Gubser's play shed has been removed. You saw the walls going up for their new addition. And then we'll kick off construction at McNary on Friday morning with their groundbreaking. The Catholic Church is going to be represented at the groundbreaking, so that will be that'll be nice. I know, Father Gary's coming. And then the minute school is out, McNary will become a construction site, just like North Salem and Gubser, and we will keep everything out of these schools until we're ready to start up school, so we can get as much construction done as possible. So we've started those. We also will start Judson up soon, and then I believe that Waldo is going to start just a little bit later because we needed to be careful about some construction costs. So but all 5 schools will be up and running soon. So now we're into the design process for our next schools. And I would love it. Craig's like jumped up, he'd help me. Mike did this for license communication, and he's taller than I am, so he can do both and talk. I can't. So I just want to walk you through the design process so you know, because there's lots of questions. You can just do this one first and then you can switch it out. There's lots of questions come up about, you'll see these schematic designs across our buildings and people would be like, those don't make sense. Why would you do that way? So conceptual master plan was the pre-bond planning. North had one of these, McNary had one of these, any schools under construction. And we tried to figure out what they needed and make some initial guess about where to put things. Once the bond passed, then we had design teams at the school. So North had a design team, McNary had a design team, Gubser had one. McKay and South are in that phase now where they've had design teams do their work. And so this is, let me think, here's tennis, oh no, that's the new tennis courts. I'm looking here. I'm trying to think where LPC is, just to orient people. Clear over here. So parking and LPC. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it would be there, huh? And you notice LPC over here, this big expansion off the back. Lots of concern about distance from here all the way out this direction. The annex building on the McKay property is now going to be part of the McKay campus. So that will help give them more capacity because there's classrooms in there. And when we did that, we said, wow, that's way too long a space to travel. So now they have taken this and they've come up with a new plan.
This one's easier.
Yeah, this one is easier.
This one's easier to see. That's the annex building
Uh-huh.
right there. So this is the road out and Wolverine. So LPC is right there. So it kind of bends around.
Yeah. So the design team wanted McKay to look amazing and have a big entrance when they came in, when people come into the campus. Because as you drive in now, you're kind of like, okay, there's that school over there. So we are adding more classrooms this direction, and they're also getting one of the only 21st century media centers, brand new media centers in the district. So when you drive into McKay, you will see that brand new media center area. Where the media center is now in McKay is going to be cafeteria and common area. So it'll almost double the capacity of the common area, plus they'll get a new media center. This all came about, the final moves, as a result of that design team process, where we had staff in the building at the table with the architects designing. They're also going to get a new CTE building out back. It will complement the ag program that already exists there. And of course, a number of classrooms and new special education classrooms. The other thing we'll do across any of these schools where we have the opportunity is think about ingress and egress. If you're coming out of McKay High School at dismissal time or arrival time, you know it's not the greatest flow, just like a lot of schools. So we'll redo the ingress and egress, making an easier transition onto Lancaster. And probably the LPC to McKay, there's that hedge area that's just wasted space. Great, because it needs mowing and weeded all the time, but we'll kind of make that one large parking area that's shared between the two sites. Yep. And then we'll also are going to put tennis courts out front. Right now, they don't have regulation-sized tennis courts. So if they have their tennis team can't play home matches on their court. Little fun fact about McKay. So that's McKay and the design process. Very similar process has happened at South, and we're just now kicking it off at Auburn as well. Might even be a couple meetings in.
Yeah, we're down to the last meeting is on the 23rd.
Yeah. So Auburn's in the middle of that. We were able to purchase the county park next to Auburn, which has been a labor of love. It only took us 3 years. And the county was fabulous in helping us find a way to purchase that park that is actually on the National Park Registry, if you didn't know it. But it's a not very well kept park that's on the National Park Registry, which means you have all kinds of hoops to jump through if you're going to sell it. So Auburn, while not getting a new building, will get a whole new addition, totally improved parking, better ingress, egress. And I haven't seen where you guys have landed, but I'm anxious to. So do you have questions about construction or design? Yes.
So, that's alt-ed,
Mm-hmm.
and they're moving.
Yeah, no, actually the annex is no longer alt-ed. It was alt-ed, and it now is 5 or 6 math classes for McKay, so we're already using it as extra space. And we are just fully saying the annex belongs to McKay High School now. We moved the alt-ed programs down to the Riverside Learning Center when we had a chance to purchase a building down there. It's a good question. Things happen. We buy parks, we move schools. What other questions do you have? You guys are too quiet today. Okay. Next update I wanted to give you was around the budget. I know at least Edie in this room has paid attention to the budget, but raise your hand if you've had a chance to pay it all attention to the proposed budget. A little bit, yeah. Okay, so let me tell you where we are. We have a legislature that still has not made a decision. This is what my husband said. I said in my budget meeting, well, I think we're going to get, well, I'm not sure we're going to get, well, I think we're going to get, but I'm not really sure, but no one's made a decision. But We developed a proposed budget based on the governor's budget at $8.97 billion. So on April 23rd, I presented a budget that was aligned to the governor's budget. And in that budget, we had about $6.1 million in ads, a few subtractions, but not really things you would notice as subtractions. So we tried to tighten up a few places in order to be able to add a few staff. So we added enrollment growth, teaching FTE for middle schools, a little bit of additional classified staff at middle school. We have fairly flat enrollment right now. Never said that in this district for a number of years, but our enrollment has started to flatten. We have declining enrollment at the elementary, increasing enrollment at middle school, flattish at high school. And so we needed to shift some FTE as we were thinking about what to do about the enrollment growth at middle school. So we added 9 FTE middle school licensed staff. And we also added, and we called it enrollment growth. We have a lot of escalating caseloads in special education. So we did 5 licensed and 11 classified in our life skills classrooms and middle and high school learning resource centers. 2 FTE licensed and 0.8 classified staff in speech and language. And 1 licensed, 1 classified in occupational and physical therapy. A little adjustment to counselors, about $420,000 in service and supplies to special education. Also important to note is that we're in our 3rd year of transitioning the temporary limited term FTE in special education into permanent FTE for classified staff. So I think this year we transitioned about 66, I think that was the number, about 66 FTE that were limited term to permanent, because we know that our long-term permanent classified employees make a difference for our students with disabilities. So if people were limited term, they were hired, they were let go, they were hired again, they were let go, they were hired again, till they'd been here for 3 years. So that's our 3rd year of phasing in what we're calling permanent FTE for adult assistants. We've added some FTE in for our ELL students. We're seeing higher numbers of EL students at middle and high again, so we added 3 FTE there and 1.47 classified staff. Last year we moved some bilingual assistants at the elementary. Some of you will remember that we reduced some FTE there. Our EL numbers at the elementary are going down. Our EL numbers at middle school and high school are going up. It's a bubble going through the system. If we would have done that same thing this year at elementary, we would have reduced elementary FTE and bilingual education by about 10 this year, but we chose not to. We're like, leave, we don't need to reduce, let's leave this, leave that staffing level alone, even though the numbers were decreasing slightly at elementary. We also added a reserve pool for classified employees, so 18.75 FTE classified reserve, because we know that we have emerging needs that come up. We've never had a classified reserve pool before, and we thought that was really important. And the other, some of them are little bits. All this is online, so I'm not just skipping over it. I'm trying to hit the highlights for you. The other big one was around 15 FTE in transportation for the increased transportation related to the boundary change process. So additional 15 FTE, they're all classified FTE. And then we had some need to increase about $500,000 in safety and security because of our ongoing emergency phone calls that take out our security firm in the middle of the night. And every lockdown, every threat we have at school, this cost has really escalated. So that was on April 23rd. Then we had one more budget meeting and a follow-up budget meeting last week. We've seen a bit of an escalation in our revenue. So last week I came forward with some additional ads for the budget for next year. I was looking for my notes on there. There it is. We added 6 counselors, 1 at each comprehensive high school, so each one gets, that's needed. A social worker FTE, because we had a limited term position there, we were going to actually be reduced if we didn't add that back. Yeah. Oh, I thought somebody said something. Behavior cadre, 16.88 FTE. This is embedded behavior cadre, the behavior cadre that is assigned to a school and stays at a school that gets training from David Fender's Office of Behavioral Learning. So highly trained in behavior cadre that is assigned to a school. So it's not the floater. We're getting really close to being able to have one embedded behavior cadre at every elementary school. And that would be our goal. We added 3 more ELD teachers. We added time to the Indian education staff to get a few of them, more of them to full time, so they could do graduation outreach for our Native American students. And then added time to our translators and native language specialists because they're not on full 12-month contracts. So all of our summer school, all of that, we didn't have interpreters and translators for. And then a couple little other minor things. So that was last Tuesday night. And then budget hearings, or when we take public comment, they start on Monday night. So Monday night will be public comment, Tuesday night will be public comment, and hopefully at that time the budget committee will adopt or approve the budget. We're still watching our revenue because we still don't know. We have, we're waiting for another state school fund estimate. They say it's supposed to be at $9 billion. We budgeted 8.97, so it's not going to be a lot, but we're still waiting for that state school fund estimate to know if there's any additional revenue. What I love is that we aren't in reductions. Major metro districts did major reductions. Everything you heard from me was an ad. So I feel like we're in good shape. And then we're hoping to get a vote from the Senate today on the Student Success Act. So you've seen probably lots of publicity on that. For Salem-Keizer, the Student Success Act, if it passes, means about $35 million a year for Salem-Keizer. You did a little bit of brainstorming around what that might involve for us. The Department of Education, if and when it passes, is going to lay out a comprehensive stakeholder engagement process as a requirement for getting those funds. So you'll hear a lot more about that. If it passes, there's a chance it will need to be referred to the voters because it is a tax increase at the same time. And we won't see any dollars next year. Every forecast I see says the money will come in 2021, not 1920. So I think where we end up on next Tuesday night and into June will be where we are for next year. And then we'll really start kicking in on the planning of what does $35 million extra dollars mean to us. So, a lot going on, and nothing's final. What questions do you have, though? Because I gave you a lot. 80. Yes. Classified. Yes, it is classified. Yeah, the question was, is behavior cadre licensed or classified? And it is classified. Those are some great, if you think about, pathways positions. If people are really interested in that work with our students with complex behaviors, any one of our instructional assistants who has that talent, those are some good positions to look at because it is increase in pay and training. They're highly trained positions. What other questions do you have? Okay, you guys are too easy today. All right, the only other thing I had on my list was May 8th. I want to do a huge, huge shout out to our classified employees, especially transportation, especially our student services, behavior cadre. Transportation, everywhere I heard, transportation was on time got kids home on time. I don't know if you know this, but we have about 800 students with disabilities who are on specialized routes and can't be dropped off unless there's an adult waiting for them. So we were worried about what that would mean in a 2.5-hour release, and so we set up reunification sites. Was anyone here at a reunification site? Yeah. No? You were? You ended up being at student services. Yeah, so one at student services. You might have had up to 4, but we had 8 students district-wide that needed to be brought back to reunification centers. And it's awesome. And another big kudos to transportation, because what they did is they were documenting every student. So they had a major spreadsheet going in their dispatch room. And when the first kids started coming in, when someone wasn't there to pick them up, the dispatcher would say, we're going to call parents, take a little trip around the block. So it would be on the screen and off the screen so quick by just that quick little nuanced change in our plan. And again, we only had 8 students district-wide. So yeah, it was a hard day. It was not a day we would choose to do over again. But on some levels, there was lots of learning that happened for us. And so that was good. It was really hard, the differences in classified and licensed. And I just want to say that to you. Our classified staff who stayed on site when teachers needed to leave were pretty phenomenal. We had some great unifying moments in the day. Hoover had, is anyone from Hoover here? Hoover did a early morning kind of assembly and invited parents and asked their kids to wear red. They started on the playground. They talked about what the day was about. And then they had lessons, kind of some civics lessons throughout the day, ending with each student making a heart about why education in school was important. And so I walked in there, I'm like, why do all the kids have on red? That's a lot of red. But it was just this great unifying moment. Our bus drivers were like, wow, everyone was so happy in the community today. They were waving at us. So again, it was hard, but I got to see some really bright spots throughout the day, and there were some really key moments that were unifying. So if you would please take this back to transportation and our drivers especially about what a great job they did, and any of you that have interactions with classified staff that had kind of hard jobs on that day, if you'd pass on my appreciation, because it was hard. So I'll just open it up for any questions about May 8th. Edie, you have one? Are you thinking? Oh, you're no. Okay. Okay, you know what? That is all I have on the agenda. So you can ask anything, or we can be finished early, because it's May. I know.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
As far as spending at each location.
Spending at each location? Uh-huh.
Where are we at with that? Are we trying to spend down? Is it a certain percentage?
Yeah, we are. The question is, where are we at with spending at each location, and what's our strategy? We have said kind of a freeze spending, but think in terms of getting to 90%, no more than 90% spending. And most schools are there. We've had a couple schools call and request an exception. The only person that gets to make an exception to that is me. But we have had a couple for very legitimate reasons. So we've tried to get down to that 90%, and we built the budget based on trying to get to 90% spending on the supplies. So that's, again, part of the reason we're not in cuts. So that's a great question. Mm-hmm. Another one?
This isn't a question.
Okay.
I can't remember are we sending out a survey
Oh, yeah.
after this?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe from Christy?
Yep. So here's what we're going to do tomorrow or the next day. When she gets the minutes out, she's going to ask you some basic questions. What'd you like? What would you change? You can't say you loved coming to North Salem High School because we're changing that. But you can say we love it, please go back. You can say it. We love it. I just don't want you to accuse me of not listening to your feedback. Okay? Okay, good. But no, if you thought North is the best place ever, it is okay to say that because we will need to circle back after next year to come back here. If there were things you'd like to see different or some topics you wish we'd have covered, that would be a place to say it. We might even do a couple tours of some construction, which I think would be kind of fun for one of our meetings. Yes, would that be fun? Okay, so we're going to get on at least one of them. We'll work it out with our contractors where they can take us through, because it's a huge investment and it's kind of fun to see the progress.
CTEC has grown since we had gone to visit.
You know what? You are right. We need to go back to CTEC next year. We will do one of our meetings at CTEC, and we'll do, it's not as great without kids, but we'll do a whirlwind tour of CTEC. Yeah, I'd forgotten we did that. Yeah, we'll have all 10 programs at CTEC next year. The final 2 are ag and culinary. So all 10. I know. Yeah, 5 years. We got them all. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I'd forgotten we'd done that. Anything else? Go to the order. Thank you. I know this is one more commitment in your day, and I really value the time we get to spend together, and I think it's great to just have this interaction. We've talked about doing it, just doing Skype and stuff. I don't think it's quite the same. Okay, good. But I'd do it if the whole group said, do a Skype one of these. I'd do it. But it is kind of nice just to get to see people. So with that, John Bate is here if there's any HR questions. Craig Sproles is here if there's any elementary questions. But he could take others. I'll be here for a few minutes. If not, Christy Patton's here. If you want to tell her thank you for coordinating the coffee and always writing in pink. Yeah. And making sure that we get here on time. She always gets the agenda. She always brings me her questions. So, yes. Thank you, Christy. Brian's behind the camera. Yes. Yeah. And, we get 100 to 200 of people viewing these afterwards. So we've talked about it's kind of hard because if you just want to have a conversation, when you're being videoed, you might not want to ask your questions. So we've talked about, do we do presentations and then stop for the last 10 minutes to say, is there anything you want to ask? Because it's tricky to have it out over the airwaves forever. So that's one thing we've thought about for next year, doing just a little differently. All right. Have a good afternoon. Thank you.